Hey everyone, welcome to part 18 of my no armor, no ranged weapons, no death, fists only run of Demon Souls. This is a full playthrough of the game, not a speed run. If you haven't been watching up to this point, I'm basically trying to do everything in the game that I can do, whilst putting a little bit of a challenge on top of that. Here I'm in the Inner Ward, and I've come here to unlock the shortcut to the Penetrator, and also you can see I'm wearing a set of claws on my right fist. It's my hope when I was playing this that I might be able to get a lucky drop of a second set of claws for my left fist, which can, as far as I was aware at the time of playing this, can only be obtained by killing certain enemies in the Inner Ward area, namely the assassin dudes known as Imperial Spies. So I came here before completing a couple of other areas that I still need to complete with that hope. I really wanted to be running around with 2 Wolverine claws on my She-Hulk, but yeah, that's the only reason I've come to this area at this time. But I'm not going to farm the area. I don't want to farm. My plan is to run around and open up the locked gate that's at the top of these stairs and see if I'm lucky enough to get a set of claws while I do it. And I say this every single part, but I'm not using any shields either. When you see me with the Adjudicator shield out, it's only because I'm taking advantage of the shield's passive healing perk. Whenever I'm actually in a fight, I make sure the shield gets put away. And also there, I was trying to kill a crystal lizard. I haven't been able to do that with fists, bare fists, but I thought I'd try to see if I could do it now I have a set of claws on. And the answer is no. Still can't kill crystal lizards. Since this was a new area, I really didn't have a basis of comparison as to how quickly I was killing enemies with the claws on versus with bare fists. I mean, it was obviously faster than it would have been with bare fists because the claws are doing more damage, but still, I really didn't have a basis of comparison to see whether or not the claws were making that big of a difference to these fights. It didn't feel like they were, but yeah, having not been in this area prior to this with bare fists, it's a bit hard to tell. At the very least, the moveset didn't seem that different. Pretty much didn't feel like anything had changed, to be honest. Just a little bit more damage. That was the first assassin, and he was holding a dagger, so I was a little bit unsure as to whether my memory was failing me. I thought that those guys used claws. I was sure they had dropped claws. I couldn't remember if I'd seen them wearing claws. Like the miners in the Tunnel City, you don't see them wearing iron knuckles, but I knew for sure that they dropped iron knuckles. But when I saw that assassin, that Imperial Spy, not wearing a set of claws, I did wonder whether or not hoping for claws in this area was going to be as big a waste of time as hoping for iron knuckles in Tunnel City. Fortunately, unlike Tunnel City, it didn't really matter. It would be great if they did drop here, but overall, running through here was still beneficial because I needed to do it to open the gate, the shortcut to the penetrator. Although technically in a no-death run, I probably never really needed to open that gate when I think about it in hindsight, because I could have just run straight through to the penetrator without opening the gate. So yeah, so I guess you could argue it is a bit of a waste of time. But this run is all about me trying to complete as much of the game as possible. So yeah, I still had to open the gate and deal with the enemies all around that area and see what I could find in that area. Either way, I had to do it. So not a waste of time for this playthrough specifically. The other thing I should mention is I was pretty lost in the Prison of Hope, but not so much here. I remembered most of this area. I guess the thing I couldn't remember clearly was where the assassins all were. Because they're all wearing thief rings, you can't really see them until you get close to them, and I couldn't remember. I remembered where some were, but I couldn't remember where all of them were. So my whole playthrough here, I'm kind of like thinking I have to make sure I go to every nook and cranny of this area, just in case there's an item, but also just in case there's an invisible assassin sitting there. I knew for sure that there was an assassin on the right of these stairs. Well, actually, I wasn't sure if he was on the left, but I was pretty sure he was on the right. And then I saw that enemy die and I thought that wasn't the assassin. I'm sure the assassin's on the right. So I made sure to glance around the corner, and sure enough, the assassin was there. So I made sure to put away the Adjudicator shield to fight him. And he didn't drop claws either. I remember looking at that item and thinking, this is a trap for an assassin. Sure enough, he fell down behind me. I didn't quite remember it, but I suspected that it happened to me before. And then when I killed him, there was an item and I thought, yes. But no, it ended up being a stealth throwing dagger and not a set of claws. I couldn't quite remember who was in the room to the right, but I knew there was a door and I knew there were multiple enemies, at least two, and I knew that one of them was tough. I also knew that along here, through this fogged up door, there was a Red-Eye Knight, and I thought I might need to retreat up here from whatever comes out of the door down below, so I decided I would take on the Red-Eyed Knight first, just to make sure that this whole area was clear and I could retreat through it if possible. I didn't want to be stuck out in the open because I knew being stuck out in the open down below put me also at risk of being staggered by archers. And if I got hit by archers while fighting a tough enemy or multiple enemies, then it could be the end of my playthrough. So I wanted to deal with this Red-Eye Knight first. Oh, he's not really a Red-Eye Knight, is he? He's more like a glowing red visor knight. And I wasn't expecting an Imperial Spy assassin to come running from there. But I was happy that he did, because I wanted another shot at a set of claws. But no, he dropped nothing. The reason I came this way is I thought it was probably safer for me to try to take out that horde of archers standing there. I really didn't want to fight the guys down below with those archers shooting at me. So I'm able to lure the fat official away from the archers. That's mainly because I'm wearing the thief ring. If I wasn't wearing the thief ring, they probably all would aggro. The thief ring makes the game so much easier than it otherwise is. I would be very interested in doing a challenge run where I'm not allowed to wear the thief ring maybe. I don't know. I've got ideas for other challenge runs after this. I'm getting more and more familiar with the game. I definitely want to do more runs other than just this type of run. Don't know what yet. Maybe a dagger only run or something like that. We'll see. Okay, with all of the archers taken out, now I just had to make my way back to that side room that I had ignored and see how I went taking on the multiple enemies that were in there. I'm pretty sure, I actually thought it was a blue-eyed knight and maybe an archer or a spearman or a swordsman. Couldn't quite remember, but I was sure there were at least 2 enemies in there, and I guessed possibly I should be prepared for 3. But with the archers gone, the fat official gone, and the red-eyed knight gone, there was plenty of scope for me to run if I needed to. So that was all good at this point, I think. Throughout this run, I was very conscious to constantly lower my weight by reducing my item burden by sending things to storage. But in watching all of this footage back, I completely ignored to do that with all the useless rings that I was never wearing. And I even noticed many times that I had multiple copies of some rings, like the Gash resistance ring. So yeah, in hindsight, I should have been sending a lot of those rings off to storage too. I mean, it didn't really matter in the end. I was still able to move and roll fast enough, but if I really wanted to be as light as I could have been, I should have been sending everything to storage that I didn't need. Okay, so I decided to peek around the corner and I realized, no, it's not a blue-eyed knight, it's a red-eyed knight. So I thought, no, I'm not fighting him with multiple enemies around, so I'm just going to lure him up here and take him on his own. And there's the third that I wasn't sure was in here, but turned out, yep, I should have known. It's a Souls game. Always look behind the doors. I should have known.
Hope you find.
Here's our friendly merchant again, who has moved.
Perhaps he was mad in the first place.
I guess he moves through the game as you do.
Or lowly fought, and those
But
who dare claim
like
it is
before,
the
and like all
hell
the other
that
merchants,
the
he
demons
didn't
don't.
have anything for me. I was just accessing him because it was a part of completing as much of the game as I could. I was pretty happy to get the extra damage from the fists. Didn't really feel like a lot of extra damage, but it was extra damage nonetheless, and I could tell that I was killing things a bit faster than I would have been with bare fists. However, they don't feel as good as bare fists. Using bare fists feels really cool. The punching animation is really cool, and the feel of punching enemies is really cool, but the claws kind of just... they don't really have that same level of feeling to them. You don't really feel like you're doing damage with them, I guess would be the way to put it. I mean, it's really more a slicing type of weapon, so it doesn't have the same oomph that fists have. So I wasn't really enjoying playing with them as much as I thought I might, and certainly not as much as playing with bare fists, but I pretty much had enough of things taking forever at this point, so yeah, I wasn't going to take them off regardless, especially since I thought this extra damage was maybe going to shave 5, 6, 7 minutes off each boss fight. I wasn't going to pass that up. Oh, and look at my health. Spear guys. I've said it in previous parts. For some reason, spear guys are my nemesis. I try to parry their spear thrusts, which I don't think can be parried because I don't think I've ever successfully parried one. Either they can't be parried or I'm missing something that I should be doing that I'm not doing, but yeah, I don't even know why I'm still trying to parry their spear thrusts at this point because I've never successfully done it, and that was way too close for comfort. I saw that item and I thought, yes, but no, it was just grass. That was 2 teasers from the Imperial spies dropping items after being killed. Oh my god, that was so close. Twice. Twice he swung his sword, and twice I dodged and I framed through it when that, if it had hit me, I would have died. That would have been the end of my playthrough. Twice there. I was so lucky. Because I can't even honestly say that I legitimately dodged his sword. I think I was mashing my dodge button in panic more than I was perfectly timing my dodge. So I was just very, very lucky there. Holy shit, this guy gave me way more problems than I remembered, or than I expected. A part of why it's so difficult is it's a fairly narrow area to stand in, and his sword swings can reach from one side to the other. Getting behind him here is a real pain without taking damage, or at least it was for me. And yet, eventually he's easily beaten. So strange. So strange how that can happen in this game. But yeah, that one was very close. I'm going to say that was maybe even closer than in the very first part where I dodged under the phalanx spear that came from behind that I couldn't see coming, that would have ended the playthrough. In this case, I had 2 dodges under the attack that would have ended the playthrough. So many close calls in this no death run. So many. spear guys, man. Spear guys always hassle me. I really have to learn how to deal with those guys properly in my next run. I really do. Alright, so I lucked out on getting another set of claws and decided it was time to leave. Otherwise I would have been heading up towards the Penetrator boss, and I didn't want to do that just yet. I knew I had to kill this fat official and open the gate to let Ostrava through. Letting Ostrava through means you save him once again and you complete his quest line, which I did do in my first playthrough of the game. And I thought I could do right here as well, though spoiler alert, I should have opened the gate first before fighting the fat official to let Ostrava run through. But at the time I thought it didn't matter. I would just go out there and I would just open it and he'd just run through, and then I would take on all of these enemies. But Ostrava's health is down to half right now. But because all of the enemies are focused on him, getting back stabs on them wasn't difficult. So I thought I'll just keep running in and getting backstabs, but now look at his health. It's getting very low. I should have dragged the enemies away, but because I had the thief ring on, every time I backed off, they focused on Ostrava again and killed him. I did have a moment of panic thinking that I might have failed my goal of maintaining pure white tendency in all my worlds, but then I quickly remembered, no, if an NPC dies and it ruins your world tendency, it has to be you that kills them. If another enemy kills them, you don't get blamed for that. You might fail their quest line or whatever, but you won't have your world tendency ruined unless you do it yourself. So I guess it didn't really matter that Ostrava died, and he still dropped the Mausoleum key, which you get from him anyway if you do keep him alive and allow him and complete his quest, allow him to get up those stairs. And the Mausoleum key, it opens the door to the Mausoleum, which is in the Gates of Boletaria area, which I will be doing and going to later. But for now, it was just time to go back to the Nexus, level up, and then continue on. And at this point, I had made my decision that the next area I would do would be the Depraved Chasm. And the reason I decided to do that is I thought, even though I didn't have the Sodden Ring, I just thought the first area of the Depraved Chasm would be actually pretty easy to do. And from memory, it was actually pretty short, a short area before you get to the first boss. So yeah, I pretty much decided Depraved Chasm is where I'm heading next. But first I wanted to level up, and pretty much I just wanted to put a little bit of my souls into health and into damage for my claws, so either strength or dexterity. But I thought about dexterity because it would affect the claws, but then I looked at dexterity and strength and it was the same level of attack power increase, only if I put my points into strength it would also give me extra attack power in my left hand for left punches. So since I didn't have another set of claws and I'd lucked out on getting any, and I was never going to get any because I probably wouldn't be fighting any more Imperial spies ever again, yeah, I wanted to make sure whatever I did to increase my attack power affected both my bare fist on my left hand and my claws on my right. And with all that done and the shortcut to the Penetrator opened, I headed to the Depraved Chasm, and for that I'll continue on in part 19. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.